Welcome to Breaking the Chains. I am Bakita, and today I have a really quite interesting young man on the show with me. I just learned about him like a day ago, but I've been like obsessing over the music and the travels and the everything. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. First and foremost, Quinn, I really want to thank you for inviting me on your platform. I truly appreciate you giving me an opportunity to talk a little bit about my journey. Okay,
Great.
my name is
Thank
Taye Uhuru. I'm a world traveler. I visited more than 60 countries around the world. I'm a musician. I'm an author. I just released my first book. It's called The Afro Set. And my plan is to live in Africa. So I've been to about 20, 15 or 20 African countries. So that's really where I'm headed right now.
Cool. Where are you from?
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Cool. I have some friends from Cleveland. That's pretty cool. Um,
Oh, okay.
okay, so off the rip, most of us here in America, we're not that interested in Africa. So what piqued your interest in traveling to Africa?
Well, I always had an interest in Africa and African people because of my family. We have a history of Black nationalism. The book that I wrote is called the Afro Set. That's an organization that my uncle founded, and
Mm,
my great grandfather, his grandfather, he was a member of the UNIA. So that red, black, and green, that kind of runs through our family. So my grandmother, she used to tell me about Marcus Garvey and her father, and he told her that we were Africans and we should go back to Africa. And then my uncle and his organization, they were like at the forefront to introducing African culture to African Americans in the city of Cleveland in the 1960s. So they brought, dashikis and head wraps and African dresses and Afrocentric jewelry, earrings, and they brought history. They taught Swahili, African culture, African drumming. They did a lot of things like that. So Afro set, Afro was short for African, so.
mhm. Wow, that's a really interesting background. I know that a lot of us have a pretty extensive background, and most of us don't know it.
Right.
So it's a blessing for you to have that knowledge and to be raised in a way that we're African first. Um, so you tell me more about the book. What is it that what's the premise of the book?
Okay, basically the Afro Set was a Black Power organization, and they practiced self-defense. They opened up shops throughout the communities in Cleveland. So inside of the shops, like I mentioned, they would sell African masks, African jewelry, pottery. These things they would make themselves. They didn't get it directly from Africa, so they employed the people. They would, put pottery in the oven. They would make handmade earrings and necklaces, and they would present fashion shows. They opened up a theater, so they would do musical performances. They would do African drumming, and they had classrooms. So they taught economics, self defense, drug awareness. Like I said, they taught Swahili, African history, African culture.
Mm,
They had a lot of social programs, so they were kind of similar to the Black Panthers.
okay.
They had breakfast programs, lunch programs. They would give away bikes. They would do different things like that. But first and foremost, they practiced self defense, and they did a lot of community patrolling. So when people came into the ghetto and they were pimping women or selling drugs, or police came in, they would run them out. They had a lot of confrontation. So the book is exciting. It's a lot of riots, rebellions, uprisings, and shootouts, and different things like that. But I think the most important thing about the Afro set was it was more than an organization. It was kind of like family because a lot of people joined. So you had brothers and sisters in this organization. You had mothers and fathers. People actually met in the Afro set. They got married. Babies were born into the Afro set. And
Okay.
when they joined the Afro set, they would give them African names. So they would change their name. They would have their own wedding ceremonies. They had a nursery. They had a theater, and then they started going to different cities and different states and working with other Black Power organizations. Like I mentioned, they worked with RAM, the Black Panthers, Malana Karinga, Amiri Baraka, and they just did a lot of
Mm.
positive things.
Yeah, I got some heavy hitters there.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned when they come into the Afro set, the children are given, or you're basically renamed, right?
Yeah.
Where can you explain your name for us?
Okay. Well, I gave myself that name, Taye Uhuru. That's my African name. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So Taye, that is a Ethiopian, Amharic word. That's the language that they speak in Ethiopia. So Taye, that means to see something, to have a vision. Uhuru, that's a Swahili word, and they speak Swahili in Eastern Africa, like Tanzania, Kenya.
Mhm.
So Uhuru, it means freedom. So my name means he who has seen freedom. That's the name I gave to myself.
Yes, that's a strong name. It's a strong name. So you've traveled to Africa. Um, can you tell us what was one of the most impactful travels or visits or countries that you've been to in Africa?
It's kind of hard to say because I've been to so many African countries, and Africa is very diverse. I know a lot of
Yeah,
times we think of Africa as like one place, but I think it's the most diverse continent in the world.
it
So,
is.
for example, say like if we live in North America, say if you visit Mexico, you visit United States, Canada, Jamaica, Guatemala, Haiti, those places are totally different.
Totally
Different
different.
language, different. The people look different. The food is different. The culture is different. The weather, the laws, the religions. So Africa is probably even 10 times more diverse than North
Absolutely.
America. But
Absolutely.
I had great experiences. I would say the first time I went to Africa, that probably was the most important experience because that was life changing. And that
Okay.
was South Africa. Because when I arrived, or before I arrived, I didn't expect to see malls and nice cars and roads that were paved and technology and beautiful people because I went almost a decade ago. So trying to find positive content about South Africa was almost impossible. It's
Yeah.
not like it is today where we have so many YouTubers and positive content. And I went to Ghana in 2019 for the year of return. That was a great experience. It was so many celebrities, T.I., Rick Ross,
Yeah.
whoever, Ludacris, and everybody else.
Everybody
So
was there.
it was just a great feeling to be a part of that. You know what I'm saying? That history.
Yeah. Speaking of the year of return, you mentioned that you want
Mhm.
to, I guess, eventually move to Africa. Um, do you
Definitely.
do you have I'm sorry, a red robin just sat on a tree outside of my house, and that's a sign of
Oh
one of
wow.
my ancestors. Um,
Okay.
two of them.
Wow.
That's never happened. I'm sorry. I literally
No, it's all
always
good.
have this window open when I'm talking and doing my interviews. I have literally never had a red robin, let alone two, come and sit on that tree, sit on this bush while I'm talking to somebody.
Wow.
That yeah. That kind of sent a chill up my spine. Okay, brother, I need to see what's really going on with you. What the ancestor trying to tell me about you, brother? Okay, let me get myself together. So tell
Mm,
me about your experience during the year of return, and you know, what was it like as far as, I know the atmosphere had to be amazing, but like being in Ghana during such a momentous time, what was the energy like?
oh, the energy, it was dope. I mean, when I go to Africa, I always get welcomed, I always get love. But Ghana kind of rolled out the red carpet, for African Americans. That's what I felt like. Like everybody, welcome home. It's a celebration versus just me, in the group that I was with. So it was just so many events and different things going on. And then, I was keeping up with it on the news. And then to see, different celebrities coming and having a great time as well and having a safe time, that just made it more, an exciting experience for me. We went to naming ceremonies. We went to the Kamasi Carnival was going on. It was just a lot of different things going on at that time.
Yeah, I did follow a lot of the stuff that was happening, and I was so happy to see our people just really like, for many people it was their first time in Ghana, and to see the smiling faces and to see people, like, it changed a lot of people. It changed a lot of people's life perspective, even their how they see themselves. Now,
Right.
you are also a musician. What Tell us about your music.
Oh, okay. The music that I produce and write and is more so conscious basis about positive things that affect Black people. The last video I released is called "Do Revolutionaries Go to Heaven?" and I filmed it in South Africa. I wrote it and I also recorded it in South Africa. And this was during the lockdown. So I actually lived in South Africa for 2020. And it was a great experience despite, everything that was going on in the world at that time. So I was living in Johannesburg and I lived in a neighborhood called Maboneng. It's an art district and it's a very unique place. I never seen a place like this because so many artists live in Maboneng. You have painters, you have poets, you have singers, you have dancers, producers, writers, rappers, all photographers, all living on one street in my apartment, upstairs, downstairs, and they come outside and they perform every day. So it was just a beautiful place. And there's artwork all around. And there's pictures of Marcus Garvey, Nelson Mandela, Rosa Parks, Tupac, Nipsey Hussle, all of these great people. So I would walk past, these murals every day. And it just kept me inspired. It lifted my spirits. And I really wanted to write about it. But at that time, it was like a lockdown, so a lot of people, the area was kind of dead, but it was still a few photographers around. And I, got cool with them. And then I talked to them and I was like, maybe we should shoot a video. And I got a chance to do the song. So a lot of my music is conscious based. The song I did before that was called "The Blacker the Berry, the Sweeter the Juice," to talk about being Black, being proud to have dark skin, and for all Black people, if you light skin,
Right.
brown skin, mixed, whatever, just be proud of your Blackness and your beauty, natural beauty.
Oh man, I can really appreciate that. And I can imagine for an artist living in an art district in Africa had to be one of the most inspiring things that could happen to you, for like, from the perspective of with all of the stuff going on in the world. I can just imagine that was really dope for you. You studied abroad, right?
Yes.
Where did you study abroad, and what did you study?
Okay, I studied abroad twice. The first time I studied abroad was in 2014, and I was living in the Dominican Republic in Santo Domingo. So I was studying the Spanish language, Latino history, Dominican culture. I also studied Caribbean diseases. So we was learning about health and the foods that we eat and parasites and, food related illnesses and things like that. Because I'm also into like food security. I co-founded a food co-op in Cleveland. It's called the Little Africa Food Co-op. So I try to educate people a little bit on eating healthier and things like that. I have a little experience in gardening and, things like that. But when I was in the Dominican Republic, I volunteered at a orphanage, in my free time, and community centers and things like that. And then in 2016, I studied abroad in Brazil, and I lived down there. I stayed with a Brazilian family in Florianopolis. I studied the Portuguese language, capoeira, Brazilian history, so.
Okay, now you seem pretty young, and you've done like a lifetime worth of stuff already. How old are you?
I just turned 36.
Really? Wow, you've done so much already. So you gotta tell me what's ahead of you. What's the next thing for Taye Uhuru?
Okay. Well, right now with the pandemic, things kind of slowed down, but I was working on my travel business. So I would take African Americans and bring them to Africa, to different countries and stuff, to kind of help clear up a lot of misconceptions that we have about Africa and African people. And like I said, I'm in the food security. So I do want to buy land. I want to have my own farm, whether it be in the States or in Africa or both. I want to try to, build some type of bridge and system where we can correspond with each other back and forth. So
Absolutely. Well, I'm in agriculture,
okay.
and I would, whatever you're doing in agriculture, you need to holler at me, because
Oh, yeah.
I would love to be involved in any, when it comes to our people in food security and food sovereignty. I am all about it. I'm about our people, period. But
That's
my
cool.
my focus is food security and food sovereignty. So I can definitely feel you on that. We got to get this food thing together. Now tell us, where do we buy your book and your music? How do we get in contact with you?
Okay. My Facebook, my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I post content all the time. It's Camp Cleveland, CampCleveland. Those are my handles, and I have a website. It's campcleveland.org. So if you want to buy the book, if you have any questions or need any information about the tours, I buy things from Africa. I sell them. Shea butter, necklaces. Like my uncle and them. I'm trying to follow in their footsteps.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So is there any advice that you can give our people? There's still a lot of us who are afraid of traveling to Africa. They feel like going to Africa is like a once in a lifetime type of event. You've been numerous times. I've been numerous times. What can you say to people what do you want to say to people to encourage them to make the trip, to make the sacrifices that they may need to make that trip and visit the continent?
I would say the number one thing is just do your research. If you plan on traveling to Africa, you have advantage now because it's like I said, it's more content, it's more YouTubers. Reach out to them. You can ask some questions. Take advantage of social media. If you plan on going somewhere, you can follow pages or add people, and kind of build relationships beforehand. But the thing that I would say is that like the United Nations, they post each year, they rank the countries from the most peaceful to the most dangerous. So a lot of us, we have a fear that Africa is a very dangerous place, but
Right.
Africa has almost 60 countries. So it's dozens of African countries that are far safer than the United States. They're far safer than London. They're far safer than the Dominican Republic or Mexico, or places that we normally would tend to visit. So, and you will see places like Ghana is 2-3 times safer. And when I say safer and more peaceful, I mean lower crime rate, lower gun violence, less murder, less mass shootings, less violent crimes, and definitely less racism. And that's just one source that you can use if fear is a factor. Secondly, you could research the United States Department of State and Travel. Anytime an American is killed, they have to, keep a record of it. So if you go into a specific country and you're worried about how safe it is for Americans, you can see how many Americans died. For example, in Ghana, I think almost 1 million people visited Ghana for the year of return from all over the world, but only one American died, and they died in an accident. It was like
Yep.
a car accident, but
Mhm.
out of 1 million people, everybody visited safely, went back home, but how many people visited Detroit or Cleveland or St. Louis or New Orleans and can say that. So
Exactly. So at the end of the day, I think you and I have come to the same conclusion. It's safer to visit Africa than it is to visit your neighboring state.
yeah, or even the city you live in, Cleveland, it go down every night. So,
Every night.
sadly.
I'm in Atlanta, and every day is going down. So, you know, if you can survive these American streets, I feel like Africa isn't anywhere in Africa more than likely be easier to navigate because we kind of already have a bit of, some of us have a bit of street smart. So we can kind of figure out, like, I'm sure while you were in South Africa, you can kind of feel, maybe I need to stay from over there. Or maybe I don't need to go over there at a certain time of night or whatever the case may be. I think we have, many of us, especially from cities, have a little edge of street smarts, and we should use that. Last but not least, I want to thank you so very much. I want to encourage you to keep on keeping on with what you're doing. I really am happy to see the work that you're doing. I'm glad to hear about what you're doing. I watched your videos. They were really good and it felt good. It was really feel good music, especially the Black of the Berry. That felt good for me because I am a chocolate woman. So it felt good to see a young brother who's really conscious and not in an overbearing way. You have a real subtleness about you that I think is quite commendable. With all that you have done so far, I mean, you're super young, and I can only imagine what you're going to accomplish in the near future. And you're really humble. You have a very humble spirit, and I hope that you can keep that as you grow and get wiser. And I look forward to I know that we have this Corona stuff going on, but people have been doing all kind of different stuff. So if you have any events or anything, you just let me know so we can talk about it. If you just want to hop on and say, hey, y'all, we doing this, you're always invited.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. I got to thank you again for even giving me a chance and the opportunity to come on your platform. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.
All right. You too, Queen. Peace.
Peace.
I need to know the revolutionaries go to heaven. And if so, may their legacies last forever and they seeds grow. Tell them that we love them so and never let them die slow. It's like we cursed to be born black. We was kings and queens, now look where we at. I know it won't be long before we take it back. I just hope I live long enough to see it happen. And that's a fact. One thing when you pro-black, you might love your people, but they may not love you back. For more than 400 years, we've been under attack. We survived slavery and then they gave us crack. Do revolutionaries go to heaven? 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 I wanna know. Do revolutionaries go to heaven? I hope so. Do revolutionaries go to heaven? I wanna know. Do revolutionaries go to heaven? I hope. My mind runs a million miles per hour. They can't stop me. They ain't got the power. If they put me in the ground, I still rise like a flower, higher than the Eiffel Tower. Ancestors give me power to devour each and every enemy and every doubt. So Fred Hampton, Mark Clark, Martin Luther King, and Rosa Parks, Bob Marley, and Peter Tosh, and all the slaves who had to run away in the dark. You in my